So joining us from Bujumbura, where he's attending a meeting of the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, is His Excellency Mahamoud Ali Youssouf, who's the Foreign Minister of the Republic of Djibouti. Monsieur le Ministre, merci beaucoup. We'll have to keep this interview quite short and snappy because the Minister has to go back to meet his colleagues. Some of you may ask why tiny Djibouti, and because in normal times about a third of all daily shipping in the world passes through sort of like a choke point on the Red Sea in the Gulf of Aden in a highly strategic location and routes to and from the Suez Canal. So Djibouti's significance is geopolitical as well as economic. Minister Youssouf, much like a real estate agent, the chair of the Djiboutian Port Authority told me last time I was in your beautiful country that Djibouti's main advantage is location, location, location. There's a serious global economic competition between major powers like the US and China, and their trade, part of their trade passes through your country. Last time we spoke, you told me that Djibouti is located in a vital geostrategic location where all members of the international community have a vested interest. But you stress that your country is not falling under any kind of sphere of influence. How do you strike that balance?
Thank you for having me on this platform, FTA Africa Summit. As you said, Djibouti is a small country located in the Horn of Africa and very strategically located. So the question keeps coming up each and every time. How could you manage to bring all those naval forces in your country? Very antagonistic, interest in the world, but not in Djibouti. I think it's the recipe is around the critical importance of the Strait of Bab el-Mandeb. Nobody can afford having any kind of tension or conflict on this as I said, the critical passage for international trade. So Djibouti, as small as it is, understood from the very beginning that we could capitalize on that. And we opened our hearts before our doors to all those friends and partners. And I think, before 30 years when 9/11, happened, the first country to come to see us to have a naval base to fight terrorism in the region was the United States, and then others came afterwards. So let's say that Djibouti has no particular interest on strategic alliances or ideological partnerships with any superpower. Our main interest is to keep peace and security in our region and provide necessary services for all those partners to protect vessels navigating through the Strait of Bab el-Mandeb.
Thank you, Minister. On that issue of protection that you just mentioned, in my introduction, I said normal times, because we have all seen a spike in attacks on vessels on the Red Sea by Houthi rebels from Yemen, and an increase also in attacks from Somali pirates. These disruptions are big challenges facing the world shipping industry, and your country is already host to 5 naval bases, including Chinese, French, and American. How have these attacks disrupted Djibouti's position as a sort of linchpin of global commerce, and what is Djibouti doing to counter the Houthi threat?
The Houthi attacks on vessels has not only impacted the Djibouti economy. You have, at the beginning of your presentation, pinpointed the fact that, international trade depends on this Strait of Bab el-Mandeb. 40% of European trade goes through it. Almost 20,000 vessels every year. 50 oil tankers on a daily basis pass through this Strait of Bab el-Mandeb. So you can understand easily the importance of this passage or maritime route. Now, I think it's in the best interest of all stakeholders in the world to make this passage safer for all, for the navigation, generally speaking. As I said, the conflicting interest put aside, and Djibouti's role is a minor one. We have opened our space, maritime space, our territory to those partners, and we are also combating through our means first, those attacks by protecting better our territorial sea with the means and capacity and military and naval capacity we have. At the same time, we also provide, as I said, all kinds of services to warships from those countries. I think the collective security and the safety of navigation in this passage has become at least the common denominator where China and the United States, Japan and China, and other countries that have that capability can work and coordinate and, as I said, have that kind of synergy put in place so that the passage be as safe as possible. But still, the attacks are going on. The response are also there, the response of the United States to the Houthi attacks. But we believe that we have to keep on disrupting, the agenda of the Houthis in the Strait of Bab el-Mandeb, because we don't see any justification for that. And we hope that this phenomenon or these attacks will end soon.
Thank you very much, Minister. And I'm going to let you go with one last question, because I know you have to go back to the COMESA meeting. But let's move from global trade and geopolitics and security into African politics. So my last question before letting you go back to your colleagues is, you have emerged as one of the front runners for the coveted position of chairperson of the African Union, potentially replacing Moussa Faki Mahamat of Chad next year. You are standing against Raila Odinga, the former Prime Minister of Kenya. Just to this audience right here, can you make us your pitch of what you are proposing to change at the African Union if you manage to take on the chairperson job next year?
Let me say, before responding to the question, give some context. This bid for the African Union Commission chair is timely because first, the whole commission will be reshuffled, which means that the chairperson, the deputy chairperson, the 6 commissioners will be replaced, and the new, incoming commissioners will be elected on February 2025. The second reason for, at least on a personal level, is a quite timely one for me, because I have been serving, in the diplomatic field for the past 3 decades, and I'm still serving as the foreign minister of my country for the past, 20 years. So I think I have accumulated enough experience to run for the position. Now, the African continent is a big continent with 55 member states, numerous challenges, and you can imagine that the task and the mission is really very, very complicated. But I think that we are building a structure, we are building an integrated continent. It won't be done overnight. Every commission comes with new ideas, certain leadership, so that we enact or we implement the reforms that have already been endorsed by our leaders. 3 main, I'm not going to give you all my plan or all my vision, but I will give you 3 critical clusters. One is, of course, peace and security. There are so many hotspots on the continent, disrupting the development processes in the Sahel, in the Horn of Africa, in Libya, even high tension between DRC, Rwanda, between Ethiopia and Somalia. I think peace and security through our African peace and architecture will be the first priority I would shoulder if I am elected. The second cluster is how to finance our programs, development programs. It's shameful that we still rely on partners and the Europeans and other partners to finance 60 to 65% of our development programs. It has to change. We have a formula for that. We have a mechanism member countries should pay 0.2% of the eligible imports as taxes to the African Union. And with this formula, we should be able to really fill the gap of financing. Third, and very, very important issue is that if we want to transform Africa, we need to pass through the industrial transformation. You cannot achieve the development and integration goals if the industrial transformation come as a reality and not as the virtual reality. I'm not exaggerating. So far, this process of industrialization is falling back of all known criteria and standards in the world. Of course, the final one, I don't want to really take much of your time, is migration, climate change. And we are now putting the nexus, at least we recognize that there is a nexus between climate change, peace and security, and development. We are the first African countries are the first collateral damage of climate change, while we did not cause that climate change. And we are demanding, the support of industrial countries for our mitigation plans. We would like to see more justice, more equity, we call it, and the nexus is quite real. The climate change have impactful, consequences on migration. You in Europe and other parts of the world suffer from migration. And if you do not deal with the root causes of migration, one of them is climate change, I think you will keep receiving thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of, African youth to, seeking asylum, seeking, better lives, in Europe. But one of our top priority is how to keep our youngsters, our youth on the continent by providing them with the job opportunities. And that goes through industrial transformation, having an agriculture that is, based on, drought crops, which means smart agriculture, harvesting also the water resources. There are so many files, awaiting for the next, for the incoming chairperson and the commission. And I measure the magnitude of the challenge, but I believe that I can make a difference. That's why I'm running for the position. And I think that my experience of over 30 years will certainly help me to bring that difference and that bold leadership the African continent needs, these days.
More justice and more equity. Those are good goals to have. Monsieur le Ministre, merci beaucoup, bonne chance. And I'll let you go back to your colleagues at the COMESA meeting in Bujumbura. Thank you very much to all of you. I'm going to hand over the stage back to Andrew Hill. Thank you. Thank you, Minister.
Merci beaucoup.